I can't believe it. I just passed my real estate licensing exam. I did it. I passed the very first time that I took it. Both portions, first try. I'm in complete disbelief. I feel like I just need to talk about this while it's still fresh, because I think it might help people who are looking at going through the process, thinking about doing the same thing, and yeah. So let me back up a little bit, because I think that that's going to be really helpful. This did not start on the day of the test. This was definitely something that was building up to that day. When I decided I wanted to be a real estate agent, I knew the first step, I just needed to take this online class. And I did it fully online. You can choose online, hybrid, in person. I chose online because between horseback riding lessons and singing lessons and dance and rehearsals and lots of driving, I knew that I needed to study whenever I could fit it in. And I could go through the course material. I could do everything at my own pace. So that was what I decided to do. At the end of that course, you need to take a proctored exam, which is basically a replica of what you're going to take for the licensing exam. So I found a proctor, and I took that on Tuesday. I finished the material probably a few days earlier than that, maybe the Thursday, Friday before. And so here's where it gets real. That proctored test, I had to take the state portion 3 times before I passed. It was not easy at all. There was a lot of material. It was very dense. So 3 times I had to take that state portion, and I could just take it. And then I found out I didn't pass and take it again. And so I kept going. It was all closed notes, by the way. And then the national portion, finally, when I passed state, I went on to national. I was able to pass that the first time. And so, I'm done. Great. I get the printout that I need for that. I get home and I look at what I need to do for the licensing test, and I see, hey, there's an opening on Thursday. I had prepared myself already for the Tuesday test, so I said, you know what, let's just go ahead and do it. My plan was that I probably wasn't going to pass. I was just going to go and take it and see what it was like. And I probably thought, hey, if I didn't pass the state for the class initially, I'll probably pass the national, go back and study for the state, and then I could, opt out of the national because I had already passed it. So this is in my mind what I'm thinking as I'm getting there. And then this is where everything changed. I have to give credit to my mom for this. She was really excited for me. My family has been my biggest cheerleader with all of my endeavors, and this one especially. And so my mom said, you know what, just go in and treat it like a practice. Just pretend it's a practice test. Yes, you're paying for it, but it is minimal compared to some of the other expenses you're going to pay. So just see what it's like. So I did. I adopted that attitude. I went into the testing center, or I was planning on going into the testing center, seeing what that was like, what I needed, what I didn't need. What is it like to do it in a formal environment, close notes? And that reframing of looking at it as a practice test completely took pressure off of it for me. So on the day I walk into the testing center, I was strangely calm, like weirdly calm. I knew that there was money on the line, but by looking at it as the same price that I would have paid had I bought study supplies, it was okay. It was like, okay, this is just a practice. Let's see how it goes. So I walk in, I go to the bathroom, I get all checked in. She does the security check. I had my water, my mints, cough drops because allergies were flaring up at that time, and then just went for it. I walked in with curiosity. And really, that was my biggest shift with all of this, is I'm not going in to compete with myself. I'm not going in to try to prove anything. I'm just going in with curiosity. And so I went in. They gave me foam earplugs. I put them in. I couldn't have my water, but I could have my mints out there. So I immediately popped one. And it was different than how I had been practicing. I knew that it was going to be different. I had a boogie board to write on instead of notes. I wasn't able to have my water with me, my emotional support water bottle. I couldn't have it with me, which is weird, by the way. We're so used to carrying our waters with us. But instead of being thrown off, I just leaned into it. Like, okay, this is a fun experience. I'm going to learn how to flag the questions and to come back to them. It's a whole new system that I hadn't practiced with. So I just went in again with that air of curiosity, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was really difficult. There were a lot of questions that I had trouble with. I did the national portion first, which is 80 questions, but for me it was 90. They give you 10 extra questions sprinkled in that you don't know which ones they are, but they're testing them for future tests. So it was really hard. I flagged, I think, 20 questions to go back to. On the second pass, though, I went and saw that there were words that I hadn't found before, or phrases in that question that I just hadn't noticed, and I was able to get through all the flagged questions. I'm sure that I got wrong a few of them, but I felt pretty good about it, and coming back with fresh eyes made me much more confident than the first pass at it. So flagging the questions was huge. I did the same thing then. I didn't know if I had passed or not. In between the tests, I just took a little breather and stretched in my seat and said, okay, let's just get through this. And so I did the state portion, same sort of thing with flagging questions. And I walk out, and the woman who proctors the whole area said, okay, let's see how you did. And she pulled up the state portion first. And on the screen, it looks like there's this bar that shows if something is half full or not. It looked like only half full. I thought, oh no, I failed it. And she said, congratulations, you passed the state portion. And I think my jaw dropped, and I might have even slammed my hands on the table saying, what? Are you kidding? Mm-hmm. And she said, congratulations, you passed it. And I total disbelief at that point. And then she's, okay, let's see how you did for the national. And she pulls it up. Again, I see this bar. Like, I'm not trying to look, but it's hard not to see it. I see this bar that doesn't look completely full. And she says, congratulations, you passed the national portion too. What? It was a really hard test. And you have to get 70% right for the national and 75% for state. I don't know what score I got, but I passed them. And then I looked at the time, and this is, I think, the best part because it's so realistic. I didn't even get to sit in the excitement of having passed because I had to go pick up my kids. We had a whole bunch of life to live. I had to drive them to Richmond for rehearsal. And so I look at the time and I thought, oh my gosh, I gotta go. That's life. That's life. That's what happens. Thankfully, I had already started this ball rolling of if my husband and my mom hadn't heard from me by 2:30, then Mom needed to go pick up the kids from the house. I'd pick them up from her house, and then we'd still be on time getting to our rehearsal where we need to. Anyway, that's a whole other story. What I want you to take away from this is mindset matters more than anything when it comes to this test. Treating it like practice, staying curious, not letting pressure crush you, but also being prepared. All of that really helped me. I mean, my goodness, I was listening to podcast after podcast after podcast for weeks. Anytime I had big assignments that I was doing, like painting sets or things like that, podcast was in. When I was working out, podcast was in. So I don't know if you're looking to be a licensed real estate agent, or if you are looking for a house, or you're just curious about me. Doesn't really matter. I don't know that I have lessons in this, except for I just wanted to tell my story. And I think more videos are going to be more cohesive. But I'm okay, because this is crazy. This is so cool. Yeah. Anyway, I'm hoping as I get started with these videos, you're going to really see not only the Charlottesville, Albemarle area, you're going to get to see me and know the quirkiness and the hard work and the ethics of me, but I'm just excited for this next step. And I have some videos that I want to do that talk about why I'm doing this, what started this at the age of 41, and why I'm really excited about doing this. So let's go. Next step, I have to find a brokerage to hang my license and then get started. I passed.